David Gilliver. I'm a Melbourne photographer who teaches various classes around lighting, and here tonight I'm at Arahan Photo.
Hi everyone, my name is Myriam.
Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about this flash, the Godox V1. I think it's probably one of the best flash systems on the market today. Certainly one of the best in terms of value for money, but I think in terms of design they do some really great stuff across the whole system with design. We've got a range of flashes over here. Godox TD350. Got quite a lot of features in it, but it's not a very powerful flash. It's just got the two AA batteries. More serious TD685 flash, which is bigger unit. V860, which takes a lithium-ion battery instead of AA batteries. Going up to the more serious units like the AD200, the AD400, and the AD600s. And they all play together really well, right? So there's a whole range of products there to suit whatever you need and whatever situation you're in. So the V860 was previously the top of the line as far as the on-camera stuff goes, but this is their new top of the line. The main thing, of course, everyone's interested in is the head on this one. Yeah, this one's got the round head. The foot is a modified design from the V860 and their previous flashes. It's got a different locking mechanism on it. The controls are a little bit different. There's a lot of buttons on them, and they've actually put buttons under the wheel on this one. So you don't have to dive into the menus on the flash quite as often to reach all the features, which is a small thing, but I think a useful thing. So, okay, the battery in this is a new battery. So if you've got a V860 and you're used to working with their lithium-ion batteries, this one's got a new battery, so you can't simply interchange the batteries between them. The really interesting thing about this battery, right, you can actually see through it. I thought that was perhaps just a space-saving sort of design thing. Michael suggested that one reason for it might be that you don't have any flaps open that you need to close, and you don't have to worry about knocking any flaps off if you bump it or something when you've got it open. So now the battery itself is part of the casing, and there's just a button here to release it and push it through. All right, so it actually has a modelling light. As you can see, it's not in exactly the same position as the bulb itself. It's sort of recessed down here in the bottom. It's reasonably powerful.
The burn! That's Myriam.
I was looking for a reaction, but I wasn't really getting one. So, yeah. So it is a variable control. It goes from 1 to 10. So that could be certainly. I think it's a much handier feature when you're working with this flash off camera. The main benefit of having a round head is that you just get a different light spread from the traditional speed lights. What I'd like to do is perhaps just compare the difference in the light pattern that you get off this, and I might actually start with the V860. Okay, so that's the light spread from the V860. The light spread out of the V860 or any of the conventional speed lights will have that rectangular kind of shape in these situations, which is not great. The V1, I'll do the same thing. Right, you don't have that square shape happening anymore. Right, so I'll do a before and after. Okay, so this is using the V860 in a way that you might do if you were just doing that very boring thing of getting someone up against the wall. Now, when people talk about soft and hard light, what they're really talking about is the edge of the shadows, how crisp or blurry the edge of the shadow is. Now you can see here that this rather ugly shadow that I've created on the backdrop here has got a pretty crisp edge, such that we can see the pattern of her hair. Exactly the same thing. So that's the advantage of the round head. You just get a more even light spread. Of course, if we want softer light, we would normally actually fire the flash through an umbrella, say, through a softbox, or we might just bounce it off the ceiling.
When you look at the difference between the two photos,
spot the light on her face, not the shadows. That seems to be more even spread.
The standard trick that any event photographer would like to use is usually just bouncing off the ceiling. Because really what I've done here is I fired this flash up, it's hit the ceiling, it's created a big spot of light, and I can probably testify that to do that. It's created a big spot of light and that's come down, and the light coming off the ceiling is much bigger than what actually came out of the flash originally. Now this flash is slightly unusual in that if you want to fire it slightly backwards, that's as far as it will go backwards. Most flashes I find usually max out about there somewhere, but so in other flashes when you've tried to bounce off the ceiling you've probably done something like that, turned it all the way back around to get the same kind of angle, takes a bit longer, and this one at least you can go back just a little bit. Certainly if I'm shooting an event and I'm at a party which I don't have a lot of space to move around, right, I can angle this backwards now, still save about the same distance, right, much better quality. So I think that feature of being able to bend that back like that is really nice. One of the other great things about the head on this flash is that there are magnets in it, so you can mount attachments to it. There's a bounce card, right, and it simply attaches with a magnet like that. So if you're bouncing off the ceiling, it's quite nice to be able to do that. Zone you can put on it. You can stack these things. There's a grid you can put on it. It comes with a few basic gels, more color correction than anything. So I'm just picking just a pale orange gel, not the full blooded orange gel. So that'll now just change the color of my flash slightly. Right, so I've got those two things combined. Just the ability to easily add modifiers without screwing stuff on or anything like that, and being able to stack them like that I think is really useful. If you're a photographer who is in the habit of using a bounce card in event photography, one of the great things about I think the design of this magnetic head is that once you go into portrait mode like this, and normally you might do something like that as a event photographer, keep it aimed at the ceiling. Right, most speed lights have the bounce card built in. You can't simply change the direction of the bounce card like that. And so often I find when I'm doing event photography, most of my photos are landscape because I can't change the direction of the head like that. So I think that's a potentially useful feature to you if you're an event photographer of any description. Okay, so like the other Godox speed lights, this can be used off camera. Light slave sensor, it's got two modes for that, the S1 and S2. So just a bolt pulsar light from another flash. Right, so that's just using the fact that another flash fired to set it off. It's got an S2 mode as well, so that if you're working with TDL flashes you trigger, which is going to throw out that pre-flash, this will ignore the first flash and fire on the actual flash burst you want it to sync with. Okay, so when you tap through the little lightning bolt symbol on this, just over here on the right, you'll see at one point the colour of the screen changes to orange. The blue screens are for on-camera users are using it as either as the main light on your camera, or you can flick it into master mode. In that mode, it's now a radio trigger, so you can use this for setting off and controlling other flashes remotely from the camera. While you're doing that, you can either say that this flash should be also controllable, or you can sort of say this is not doing anything, it's really just the radio trigger in here working it. So you can turn this on and off as an extra flash in that system. When you do that, you've got buttons across your A, B, C, D, so that you can change each group that you might be using directly from this. So you can use this as a trigger. I'll just put it on the TTL. I'm going to bounce off the ceiling again. Bounce it slightly back. So I've got no colours or anything on it this time. So on my camera I might say that looks okay. This does have the TCM feature that the X-Pro trigger does have. Yeah. So I can hold down the button that's labelled TCM on the screen right here. Unlike the X-Pro, it doesn't flick over immediately, it's not until you release it. So when I take my finger off that, it says 1/1. TCM means TDL convert manual. So whereas the first photo was on automatic power, by pressing that button I've now flicked it over manually into the same setting that used on that last photo. So I can stand here and I can take more photos knowing that no matter what I do with the composition of the photo, the brightness is going to stay the same because it's now dialed to full power. Okay, so yes, it can be used as a master. That's the master mode with the A, B, C, D there and the buttons across the bottom. Once I flick it and it goes orange, now it's in radio slave mode. So now it's controlled completely from the trigger. One of the new features of this, which I'm kind of hoping they introduced the X Pro trigger, this flash can actually scan all the radio channels that are that it can use and tell you which ones are good to use. So if I go into the menu here, I dial down to scan and I hit start. It says 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, and it's basically going through all the channels. And once it gets to 100%, of course, it'll just tell me which channels are okay to use right here. So I'm in the habit of using channel 11 just because I chose that randomly on the assumption that most people probably leave theirs on channel 1. And this is telling me earlier that channel 11 was fine. Now it's telling me it's not listed in the channels it's showing me. Right, so if you're having problems at some location where you seem to be getting interference and things aren't firing reliably, you might want to use that feature on the flash just to check to see which channels are perhaps the better ones to use in that particular environment. Godox systems these days, they do have another thing, the ID value that you can set, which I think is 0 to 99 or something. So you can just choose a number there, which is an actual channel, but it's a unique identifier, which makes it even harder for someone else using Godox gear to be interfering with your flashes as far as setting them off. Right? Because if you had enough photographers in the same room, there's a chance that more than one photographer is going to be using the same channel.
Yeah.
Right. If you use the separate IDs, then might still get the signal, but it'll ignore it if the ID doesn't match at least. So it's a feature I haven't played with on the Godox gear. I haven't felt the need. But I guess if you're someone who's in enough different weird environments, and certainly if you're around a lot of other photographers who are doing the same type of thing, you probably want to use the ID feature for that. You simply want to activate it to help you focus. Just really overdo it. I can actually probably almost that one very way. I want to get some increment and it becomes a bit of a headache.
Well, does it fall off or does it take a stand